pray for love and unity, and that the church would find new zeal and commitment to the mission and purpose of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
You're a liar! You're a liar!
Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart.
Well, it's that time again, ladies and gentlemen, for the Political Pulpit. I'm your host, Josh Navarrete, and it's so good to be right here back on the program this Monday afternoon. Today, bringing you the news. And before we do that, make sure you hit subscribe and the notification bell wherever you're watching us, whether it be X, Facebook, Instagram, Parler, and especially YouTube, because we got to break through those crazy algorithms they have on YouTube. It's taken us forever to grow on there, but we're so grateful for all of our partners because they jumped in early on and they donated either the one-time donation or they're on with us every month. And thank you so much. That's at www.politicalpulpit.com/partner. And you can read all about that, what it looks like and how to do it. And we're so grateful for you all. But of course, subscribe. But let's get right into it. Let's jump into the news of the day. Tons of stuff happening. Most notably, the markets are up a little bit because there's like a super chip or something that's going to be a big manufacturer that's going to move into the United States. So the markets are happy about that. But most of all, there's some news on our border, some updates on the border. And of course, this El Salvadorian president joined us and joined the president in the White House. So let's get to that. He is, before we do that, let's show you what's going on at the border.
Forward and faster than
Sorry about that, guys, in San Diego.
Construction on the wall in San Diego is moving forward and faster than expected. A waiver from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security bypasses environmental regulations to speed up construction. Along with Smuggler's Gulch, it covers about 2 miles at the Jacamba Gap Wall.
So do you guys remember last week when we talked about regulations and how, so two things. The regulations that are being lifted by the president across the board on all kinds of things, manufacturing, apparently the border, especially in California, who are stricken by red tape and regulations. And it makes things, construction, new projects, infrastructure, it makes it almost impossible to improve it. Well, now that these regulations are being lifted, things are starting to move forward a lot quicker. Can't talk today, but a lot quicker. And that's the point. We want to make sure that regulations aren't overbearing and too costly. And that's the problem with America these last 5 years or so, whatever it's been, especially the last 4 years. The regulations have been out of this world, and it makes things impossible to get done. So now here we are. The border is going up. And then we also talked about our Border Patrol agents who are actually doing their job and not these mass immigration, like processing and housing people and shipping people and moving people across the United States. Now they get to patrol the things that they signed up to do. Now they're patrolling. So thank God for our servicemen and women who are serving at the Border Patrol and at the border. And it looks like things are moving along at the southern border and the wall is going back up. Yes, we believe in a border wall, but that should have a door. The door probably needs to be fixed, and we need to fix immigration policy and how it gets done. But if we just implement the law, the current law, we'll be a secure nation again. The president does talk about that a little bit later into the episode. We'll show you some of those clips. But a president from El Salvador comes to the United States today. And they talk about all these issues. So let's jump into that, because I think that's going to be important to show and let us know what's happening at the White House. Let's take a look.
Mr. President, it's an honor to have you. Thank you. You're doing incredibly for your country, and we appreciate working with you because you want to stop crime, and so do we. And it's very, very effective, and I want to just say hello to the people of El Salvador and say they have one hell of a president, okay? And I mean that, and I know him well. I know him as a very young man, Marco, even younger than you. You know, he started pretty young.
He'll always be younger.
Young at heart. But I want to thank you for the great job you're doing. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Well, it's an honor to be here in the Oval Office with the President and leader of the free world. We're very happy, and we're very eager to help. We know that you have a crime problem, a terrorism problem that you need help with. And we're a small country, but if we can help, we will do it. And we actually turned the murder capital of the world, that was the journalists call it, right? Murder capital of the world, into the safest country in the Western Hemisphere. And, you know, sometimes they say that we imprison thousands. I like to say that we...
Sorry about that. Looks like we have some Wi-Fi issues. We'll get that fixed. But he basically goes on to say that the capital of the world, the murderous capital of the world, has been turned around. I don't know if you guys saw that video not too long ago, but the president of El Salvador deployed all of his military to go against the gangs, the gangs that were running the country into the ground and killing people, and it became a massive, almost overtaken by drugs and gang members. I think it's MS-13 is one of them. And so, with the help of the President Donald Trump and the efforts getting these gang members out of the country, Bukele has actually allowed us to send these gang members and murderers back to his country, and he's putting them back into prison. That is, to me, a very crazy thing, because if you're a president and you want to clean up your land, you're almost thinking, well, no, you guys keep them, we don't want them. But it's the right thing to do. These guys were smuggled back into the U.S., and now they're bringing them back. As a matter of fact, President Donald Trump and Bukele have just looked past some of these judges who are saying we have to bring them back into the U.S., which is absolutely ridiculous. Let's take a look at the next.
An administration that allowed people to come in freely into our country from not only South America, but from all over the world, many from the Congo in Africa, Asia, all over the world, Europe, rough parts of Europe. And they came from prisons, and they came from mental institutions, and they came from gangs, and the gangs of Venezuela and other places. And hundreds of thousands and even millions of them came. 21 million people altogether, but many of the people that came, just a tremendous percentage of them, were criminals, in some cases violent criminals. We had 11,088 known murderers. Half of them murdered more than one person. This was allowed by a man who, what he did to our country is just unbelievable. So we're straightening it out. We're getting them out. But what they did and what that party did to our country, open borders, anybody could come in. As soon as I heard that, I said, every prison's going to be emptied out into our country. That's what happened. And we're straightening it out. And we just had numbers. We had the highest recruiting numbers in the history of our country going into police departments. And a year ago, we had the lowest numbers. You couldn't hire a
biggest change.
Yeah. Nobody's ever
the lowest to the highest. And
the military now, Marines, the Army, Air Force, Coast Guard, every slot is, I mean, we have the best numbers we've ever had. We call it recruitment numbers.
People are excited to be back working for the country and working for our military. Just like law and order, once law and order is restored, the Bible specifically says that when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. So you're going to be excited to be a part of the country again, getting back into the military. You're bringing American strength back and looking for a strong America. So you're going to get people excited. Young people are going to get excited to serve again, and they're going to want to join the military, because then there's clear direction on how to serve and what to do, just like the Border Patrol. They were processing people. That's not their job, to bring people into the U.S. Their job is to protect the United States, not to bring murderers and people from all over the world who we don't know who they are. And you're watching this happen because that's the orders of the last administration. The president is absolutely right. This last president, this last administration did a terrible thing to this nation, and just having open borders as other countries emptied out their prisons and sent them north. Let's take a look at this next clip here.
The border is remarkable. It has dropped, 95%? It's incredible.
As of this morning, 99%, 99.1%. To be exact.
Why are those numbers not in the media?
Well, they get out with the fake news, like CNN over here doesn't want to put them out because they don't like putting out good numbers. They only like putting out, because I think they hate our country, actually. But it's a shame. You're right. Isn't that a great question? Why doesn't the media? Why don't they put out numbers?
Yeah, 99%. I mean, it's crazy, right?
We're doing
it's
great.
A crazy turnaround.
Christy, could you maybe say a couple of words about the border? How we're doing?
It's just been absolutely phenomenal what a great leader can do. Clear direction. Our laws matter. We should only have people in our country that love us, and the Border Patrol and our ICE officers and law enforcement officers have done fantastic work. So we're proud of them. Now we just need to get the criminals and murderers and rapists and dangerous gang members and terrorist organizations out of our country. So, Mr. President Bukele, we thank you very much for your partnership. It has been wonderful for us to be able to have somewhere to send the worst of the worst and someone to partner with. And we'd like to continue that partnership because it's been a powerful message of consequences. Mr. President, you wanted people to know that there was consequences if you break our laws and harm our people and endanger families. And this is a clear consequence for the worst of the worst, that we have somewhere to put them.
Actually,
This president, Bukele, is basically partnering with the United States to clean up our streets. It's huge. He knows what happened was wrong, and he's willing to partner with us. I think that's amazing. Let's take a look at the next one.
Let's not start because they're just so
Mr. President.
wrong. Do you have any questions, please?
President Trump.
No, let's not start
Mr. President.
because they're just so
Mr. President.
wrong. Do you have any questions, please?
I'm not sure what that one was about. I think that was just it says, do you have any questions? Let's not start with C. Oh, okay, so I get it. Now, CNN started, and then he said, no, somebody else. All right, let's see what they say.
Men to play in women's sports? Do you allow men to box your women and box? Because I know you have a lot of boxing.
That's violence.
That's abusive.
Violence against women.
It's abusive.
Totally.
But we have people that fight to the death because they think men should be able to play in women's sports, and some of those sports it wouldn't matter much, but it still matters. But some of them are very dangerous for women.
Some years ago, I said a decade ago or so, women rights movements were pressuring so that we enacted specific laws to avoid men abusing women. And I think those laws were great because there were a lot of men abusing women. But now some of the same people are trying to backtrack on that and actually trying to make new laws allowing men to abuse women in sports. So actually that doesn't make sense.
In sports.
It doesn't make sense.
It's crazy. You know, they have weightlifting records, right?
Yeah.
A woman gets up, lifts weights. She's incredible. A guy gets up and beats her by 100 pounds. What are you going to do? A record that hadn't been broken in 18 years. You know, they put on an ounce, quarter of an ounce, eighth of an ounce for 18 years. Now they have a guy come up, ping. The whole thing is crazy. But they continue to fight. And I don't like talking about it because I want to save it for just before the next election. I said, my people, don't even talk about it because they'll change. And but I watched this morning. There was a congressman fighting to the death for men to play against women in sports. And you say to yourself, why? What are they doing, right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Now they're talking about the whole issue about these movements to get women in or men into women's sports and the locker rooms and allowing biological men to compete. It's absolutely ridiculous. And how these same groups years ago were fighting for women's rights now are backtracking, like the president said, to allow men to abuse women in women's sports. It's craziness, absolutely crazy. And I don't know. Who knows? We're going to see probably some more nonsense happen in the coming years, especially as the president continues bold moves and moves to make this country even better and to bring righteousness into this country. And so you think the enemy's just going to sit back and let this happen? I don't think so. Now they're talking about the attack on Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. There was recently an attack. The president goes on to talk about that. Let's take a look at what he says.
Have you attributed a motive through the FBI investigation behind the attack on Governor Josh Shapiro over the weekend?
No, I haven't, but the attacker was not a fan of Trump, I understand, just from what I read and from what I've been told. The attacker basically wasn't a fan of anybody. It's probably just a whack job. And certainly a thing like that cannot be allowed to happen.
So more attacks, more crazies. Like I said, people are going to start rising up in crazy ways. We got to continue to pray for world leaders, pray for our leaders, even on the other side, because the Bible does call us to pray for the people that are over us, and that's what we're going to do. And we just got to be watchful. I mean, everybody keep their eyes open, just like they did in Pennsylvania. Unfortunately, that crazy got his gunshot, he was able to shoot. But I think more and more people are going to be more aware. And like I said, this is not good news, as there are more attacks coming, and we got to pray for our president. There's a special call on his life right now, and we're going to continue to pray for him. The president and Bukele are talking about having a great relationship, and we've already showed this where they were talking about the president knowing him since he was young, but we'll skip over that one. The next one we have is Russia's attack on Ukraine was a mistake. What exact mistake? They want to know. So if you haven't heard, we're telling you here, this is extremely sad news. Russia drops a bomb on a church and kills multiple people, including children. And so now they're asking the president about this. Let's hear what he has to say. I personally, as you all would know, should have issue about this because this is terrible news. I mean, come on, how do you make a mistake that you're dropping bombs on a church? Makes you wonder, is there more to the story, and what in the world is going on? What I do know is that this war needs to stop once and for all. But let's take a look at this clip.
Mr. President, you repeatedly mentioned last night that Russia's attack on Ukraine was a mistake. What is the exact mistake? And have you given Putin a deadline to actually move toward a ceasefire?
The mistake was letting the war happen. If Biden were competent, and if Zelensky were competent, and I don't know that he is. We had a rough session with this guy over here. He just kept asking for more and more. That war should have never been allowed to happen. That war, I went 4 years and Putin wouldn't even bring it up. And as soon as the election was rigged and I wasn't here, that war started. There was no way that war should have been allowed to happen. And Biden should have stopped it. And you take a look at Putin. I'm not saying anybody's an angel, but I will tell you, I went 4 years and it wasn't even a question. He would never, and I told him, don't do it. You're not going to do it. And it was the apple of his eye, but there was no way that he would have done it.
Okay, before he continues, we'll pause it there. There's a lot of news swirling around what the president said, and they're saying that the mistake made was that the bombs were dropped on this church. Well, if that was so, they're trying to pin the president. It sounds like on being against Putin or speaking against Putin. I don't know what the reason is and why they would do that. It probably was a mistake. I don't even want to call it a mistake. It's wrong. I mean, this whole war thing with Ukraine and Russia is wrong. And if they dropped a bomb on the church, I think it needs to be denounced. I think that type of violence needs to be denounced somewhere, somehow by somebody publicly, because that is terrible. It's absolutely wrong. It's a sacred place of worship. And to me, that somebody needs to say something about it. And I think they were trying to pin the president on it, but he's talking about the entire war. This whole war is a mistake, and President Donald Trump has denounced the war, but he also says that it needs to stop. Somebody needs to stop the war. What's the deal? So if Ukraine's not getting any more guns, missiles, and money, then somebody's funding it. And who's going to work with Zelensky and Putin? Somebody needs to do this quickly, and I know they're working on it, but we got to continue to pray that this stuff stops. Let's go back to the video.
All you had to do is lower oil prices. If you lowered oil prices, Biden kept the prices so high because he made it impossible to get it. If you lowered oil prices, you would have never had the war. But you wouldn't have had it with me anyway. That war would have never happened. And I think it's a great abuse. So now what do? You get a country where 25% of its land is gone, and the best locations, where millions of people are killed. You haven't reported accurately the death. And this was Biden's war, and I'm trying to stop it. And I think we're going to do a good job. I hope we're going to do. They lose 2,500 young people a week, think on average. Now, they're Russians and they're Ukrainians, but it's 2,000. We don't care. It's like whatever it is. Intolerable. They're not from your country. They're not from mine, but I want to stop it. 2,500, it's a killing field. It's like the Civil War, you take a look, I look at the satellite pictures, this should not be happening in our time. Of course, our time can be pretty violent, as we know.
2,500 young people are dying a week in this senseless war. It needs to stop, and I pray that the president is able to help facilitate the peace in that region, because that's a lot of people that are dying on either side. It's senseless, it's sad, and I hate to see it. I absolutely hate to see it. So here's some more fake news stuff that's happening there in the Oval Office. Let's take a look.
Question from this very low-rated anchor at CB.
Thank you, President. Do you plan to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported? The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was additional paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs, if they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
So will you return him?
And you are doing a great job. Thank you. Wait a minute. Can you just also respond to that question? Because, you know,
do you guys hear how that question was framed? It was, do you have an answer for why this man was mistakenly deported? How is an illegal immigrant who was a member of MS-13 mistakenly deported? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Let's hear the rest of this video.
Asked by CNN, and they always ask it with a slant because they're totally slanted because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them. But would you answer that question also, please?
Yes, gladly. So, as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So, with respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So, it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. As two immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign terrorist organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the INA, that he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So he had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States, and had to be returned because of the foreign terrorist designation. This issue was then, by a district court judge, completely inverted, and a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was raised to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful, and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the President could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13, which, as I'm sure you understand, rapes little girls, murders women, murders children, is engaged in the most barbaric activities in the world, and I can promise you, if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
So you don't...
Like, that was beautifully said. Why they have to break it down so in so much detail for the news outlets like CNN is crazy. These guys are nutso. It's absolutely asinine to think that you're going to ask the president why you mistakenly deported a legal immigrant from MS-13. It's crazy. But and then the other thing is these lower district courts, these lower courts trying to tell the president and Homeland Security how to do their job, and that they can't deport somebody and then go retrieve somebody from another country who belongs to another country. It's crazy. Let's go back.
But the Supreme Court is asking to...
And what was the ruling in the Supreme Court, Steve? Was it 9-0?
Yes, it was a 9-0.
9-0. In our favor.
In our favor, against the district court ruling, saying that no district court has the power to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. As Pam said, the ruling solely stated that if this individual, at El Salvador's sole discretion, was sent back to our country, that we could deport him a second time.
Well,
no version of this legally ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the president of El Salvador. Your questions about it, per the court, can only be directed to him. Let's see.
Quite simple. I mean, why it's such a, it's crazy. They're trying to find anything to pin on the president or anything to say, find something to say that doesn't look good on this administration. And even when deporting a crazy MS-13 gang member who does terrible things, just, I don't know, it's nuts. Let's go to the next one.
Exporting to El Salvador, and President Bukele, how many are you willing to take from the U.S.?
As many as possible. And I just asked the president, you know, it's this massive complex that he built, jail complex. I said, can you build some more of them, please? As many as we can get out of our country that were allowed in here by incompetent Joe Biden through open borders. Open borders. You probably hear open borders and you can't even understand it because nobody can understand it. Nobody smart or with common sense can understand it. So.
Well, that's pretty simple. As many as possible. Like, get them all out. These gang members, we don't want any of them. All of them need to go. So as many as possible. News outlets have to ask, how many do you want out? I mean, ridiculous. Of course, we want them all out of here. And President Bukele is going to take them all. He's already agreed. He's partnered with the U.S. President Donald Trump and the El Salvadorian president, Bukele, have decided to join forces to help clean up America from the last 4 years of open border policies. It's crazy. Take a look at what the president from El Salvador says to a reporter who asked, how can I smuggle a terrorist, about smuggling a terrorist back into the United States? And I love that he's just even shocked that they would ask such dumb questions, but take a look.
Well, I'm supposed to not suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right? I mean, how can I return him to the United States? Like, I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, I mean, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States. Well, I'm supposed to not suggesting that
There's just no reason. Why would I do it? I mean, you should be embarrassed. If you're a reporter and you're asking these dumb questions, you should be absolutely embarrassed. It's crazy.
Question?
More stuff coming up. Take a look.
Question?
On terrorist?
No, not you.
I did that one already. That's when he moves past the reporter. Let's keep it going. All right, I'm going to move up just a little bit. We got a lot of clips, tons of clips. There is a tax cut extension that just went out. I have a lot of confidence that Congress is going to get the tax bill done. So let's take a look and find out what's going on with that tax bill. Fox Business.
I have a lot of confidence that Congress is going to get this tax bill done. We have to get it done. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Right. And the sooner we can do it, the better, because that will provide important certainty to all small businesses. They may not all be impacted by tariffs, but they're all impacted by tax, and it's certainly the 20% pass-through deduction. It's immediate expensing, bonus depreciation, all of these nuances that make them confident in investing in America, just like the large companies you've seen where they've come in and already put $6 trillion in, that will also have a knock-on effect positively for small businesses as those communities benefit from manufacturing and all the subsequent investments that happen as a result.
Awesome. Let's get it done, Congress. Come on, you guys can do it. So we're waiting for that. Definitely want to see more tax cuts, especially with all the savings from Doge. So we're going to make sure that those things get passed over into tax savings, which small businesses and lower income families could definitely use. All right, so here's some more information from Tom Homan on collateral arrest by ICE officers. The last administration told ICE you can't arrest somebody for being here illegally. Crazy. Why? Why would you do that? Unless you wanted to destroy America. That's literally what it seems like you're trying to do, is destroy America. But thank God for Tom Homan. The borders are. Here we go.
Well, the interior ICE arrest number is about 58,000, a majority of them being criminals, according to the numbers I saw yesterday. Look, the majority is criminals, but here's what you and I talked about several times. When sanctuary cities release a criminal back into the community, that forces us to go into the community and find him. And when we find him, we normally will, Many times they're with others. Others that are in the United States illegally, but may not be a criminal public safety threat target. But we're not going to tell ICE to walk away from the illegal alien like the last administration did. The last administration told ICE you can't arrest somebody for being here illegally unless they're getting convicted of a serious crime. That's not what the law says. We're not going to tell immigration enforcement officers, you know what, ignore the oath we took, ignore the immigration law, and walk away. So I've said it many times, sanctuary cities are going to get exactly what they don't want. More agents in your community, because you're forcing us in your community, not because on the whole team look for the bad guy. It means more collateral arrest. If they simply let us in a taxpayer-funded jail, one agent could arrest one criminal alien, but they don't do that. So that's why the collateral numbers continue to rise, because we're forcing the community.
So the collateral numbers are basically people that are maybe not, they're not breaking the law, and they're not a direct threat to the community, but they are here illegally. The problem is with the sanctuary cities, they're allowing these criminals to come back, they house them and keep them, and most of the time they're with families and other members of their community who are illegal, but maybe not breaking the law. And guess what? ICE comes in, who are you? What's your name? Where you come from? Where's your, ID, all the things? And they're here illegally. So guess what? They have to go. So while you're getting upset at the administration for doing their job, and ICE and Tom Homan and all the agents, you should be upset at these policies that allow illegal immigrants who become residents of these sanctuary cities, and they're dangerous to the community. They're going after the bad guys, and they're hanging out with the good guys, or maybe the not so bad guys. That's what collateral damage looks like for illegal immigration. Well, they should have thought about that. And so anyways, let's keep it moving. On a lighter note, President Donald Trump was visited by the college football playoffs national champions, the Ohio State University. And let's take a look at that. That looks like a pretty fun clip.
Today is my great honor to welcome the 2024 college football national champions, the Ohio State University Buckeyes.
All right, that one froze on us. We got some more coming up. Let's take a look at the next one. This one says, also with us are many Ohio State fans from my administration. The biggest of them all, of course, is our VP. So it looks like Vice President J.D. Vance is an Ohio State fan. So he's probably super happy about this. Let's take a look at that clip.
Also with us are many Ohio State fans from my administration, and the biggest of them all, of course, is our Vice President, who's been fantastic, a faithful Buckeye alum, J.D. Vance. J.D., he's something. But he was such a good student, he didn't stay there for 4 years. He got out in 2 years, #1 in his class. How do you do that? Do you have any better students than that? Better football players, yes. I don't know about students. But JD's doing a great job.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. I didn't know he got out of college in 2 years because he was too good. That's pretty crazy. That's awesome. All right, he gets to speak. Let's take a look at that.
And thanks to Coach Day and the entire team for being here at the White House. I'm so proud to be part of Team Scarlet and Gray today. Congratulations to the Ohio State Buckeyes on a hell of a 2024 season. Now, I want to say just a couple of words about this team because they really helped make, sir, an incredible year even better for this very proud Ohio State alum. So 2 things. First of all, I made a bet with Ted Cruz over the Texas game, a bet that he is still not paid up on, Ted Cruz, if you're watching on TV. And I don't like losing any bet, but I really don't want to lose a bet to Ted Cruz. So thank you all for helping me win that bet against Ted Cruz. And the second thing, I asked the president on January the 20th, I said, sir, would you mind if I skipped that final inaugural ball to go to the Ohio State National Championship game? And the president said, no, but we'll have him at the White House. So here we are celebrating that national title. And I just want to say I'm proud of you guys. You guys were resilient. You were tough. You represented the state of Ohio well, and you represented the whole country well. And the last thing that I'll say is I don't know who let the guy over in the corner here in a Michigan hat into this celebration, but I'm about to tell the Secret Service you've got a dangerous weapon, sir. But I just want to say, proud of this team, Mr. President. Thank you for hosting, and thanks to the whole state of Ohio for showing up and cheering for our Buckeyes.
All right, that's pretty cool. Okay, well, let's continue to move on. A lot of good stuff's happening. Good news for the country, good news for Ohio State. We have some more stuff happening, but let's jump to a commercial. We want to send some love to our sponsor at BlinkBed, and we'll do a few more clips after that. We're already at 34 minutes. We got a great interview coming tomorrow and some more news, but we wanted to make sure that you got the news on Bukele visiting the country. So let's go to our commercial. Today's episode of the Political Pulpit is proudly sponsored by BlinkBed, the ultimate solution for a good night's sleep. As we navigate the complexities of politics and faith, it's crucial to rest well. BlinkBed offers a revolutionary mattress designed with your comfort in mind. Crafted with cutting-edge technology and the finest materials, it's a sleep experience like no other. Did you know that Blink Mattress is the only mattress certified by the American Arthritis Foundation? Say goodbye to restless nights and wake up rejuvenated, ready to face the day's challenges. BlinkBed is not just a mattress, it's an investment in your well-being. So visit www.blinkbed.com and use code PULPIT24 for an exclusive 20% discount. That's www.blinkbed.com. Because a well-rested mind is a powerful mind. BlinkBed for a sleep experience as enlightened as your political insights. All right, thank you to BlinkBed at blinkbed.com. Use promo code PULPIT24 for an already amazingly priced, low-priced mattress. We're not going to hit by the tariffs because it's made here in Arizona. All the stuff's from here and made and manufactured here. It gets roll packed, put in a box, and shipped to your door. And you get all the great technology that the expensive mattresses have, except this one is manufactured here. And it's a great sleep. You're going to be refreshed, and all the aches and pains will be gone, I promise you. My whole family sleeps on it. So visit blinkbed.com. Here's a really cool clip at Sean Foyt in Jerusalem on Sunday, celebrating Palm Sunday. I thought this was really cool. You guys want to take a look at this clip?
So here we are on the Mount of Olives. Epic Jesus March, Palm Sunday. We're waving the palm branches. And if you guys remember, this was the moment in the Bible where Jesus gave priority and validation to extravagant worship. Remember, the religious leaders, they hated the fact that the disciples were so loud and so annoying and waving the branches. And Jesus said, hey, if they don't do this, even the rocks will cry out. So here we are, the largest Jesus March all year in Israel, on the actual route that Jesus went on the donkey. We're waving palm branches, we're being annoying, we're being loud. Blessed is he who comes in the name of God.
All right, it's pretty awesome. Awesome to see them in Jerusalem celebrating Jesus. Can't be more, that's awesome. I love that. Super grateful for all that they're doing, and just thinking about what this week means. This is a special week for us, special week for Christians, a special week for the world, because this marks the time that Jesus came to this earth and basically came to serve his people. And he was the spotless Lamb of God to be sacrificed for our sins, to go to hell, to take the keys away from the enemy so that we could be invited into the gates of heaven, the pearly gates. And if you have any questions or any concerns about that, make sure to message us so we can tell you all about the love of Christ. I think that's a good place to end it. There's probably a ton of information and more clips out there, but we're going to cut it short today because we want to just end and make sure that we're celebrating Christ this week. There's a lot of news out there, and I'm sure you're going to be inundated by it, but we'll get to the news tomorrow. We got a great interview tomorrow with our friend Ezekiel Alvarez from Elohim Podcast. But until then, continue to stay vigilant, pray for our leaders, and get involved in your churches. If you don't have a church, message us. We'll help you find one. And if you want to know more about Christ, let us know, because we want to share the love of Christ with you guys. So thank you so much, and God bless. We'll see you tomorrow.